If we look at intelligence is a we can say the concept of intelligence, according to psychology defines intelligence as the ability to learn, ability to recognize ability to recognize problem, ability to solve problems. So we usually think intelligence or IQ is more to do with academic performance. But if you look at the holistic growth, holistic development of a child, the IQ is not only connected with the academics, but it is also connected with the overall or the holistic development of a child. Sometimes we see the child is not performing good in academics, but he is very good in other sports or other extracurricular activities. That means he is not lacking or he's not having low IQ or intelligence, but only thing that he has not developed a particular interest in the subject. So now if you look at the definition, how the intelligence is defined, according to Binet, psychology is the capacity to judge well, to reason well, and to comprehend well. Judge, reason, and comprehend, to understand. And according to Terman, defined as the capacity to form concepts and grasp their significance. It's the capacity to form concepts, ideas or constructs, and grasp their significance. And according to Pittner, define its ability of the individual to adapt well to a new situation. So I think it covers up the entire spectrum where I talk about the holistic perspective, understanding, reasoning, comprehending, grasping concepts, developing, and then talking about the new situations in life. So there are various theories been given on intelligence. So one of the first theory that we are going to look at is the Cattell's theory of intelligence. So according to Cattell, he came up with the two components in his theory. One is a crystallized intelligence. Second one is a fluid intelligence. So according to crystallized intelligence, he tells that ability to use knowledge acquired through education and experience. So he talks about in the crystallized that whatever we know, the knowledge that we acquired, it is done through education or training or experience. What we learn and then we practice, we gain the experience. That's a crystallized learning which is gained through vocabulary, through formation, through all that. Second, fluid intelligence. Fluid intelligence is ability to of use logic and problem solving in new situations without referring to a pre-existing knowledge. Sometimes we see that we have solved the problem of a particular work about which we have no knowledge about. From where did that knowledge come from? It came from the fluid intelligence. That means there are few things which are new, which is not connected with the acquired knowledge, but it comes as the intuition that have we learned in the previously. Sometimes we just get an intuition, we have the instinct to we get a very creative idea, this is how I should do, and then I use my own logic and the things are done. So that's how it divides that. There is a crystallized intelligence, which is based on the learning and training and experience. Second one is based on the logic and problem solving situation. And the fluid intelligence is basically applied in your day-to-day life, solving your day-to-day logical problems, where, in your day-to-day situations, and also solving the problems of the practical life. Okay, so then the next theory is given by Gardner. Gardner comes up with a theory of multiple intelligence, where he talks about there are various fields of intelligence. He does not only talk about academics, only few fields. He comes up with there is a logical intelligence, there is a visual intelligence, there is a musical intelligence, there is interpersonal, there is a kinesthetic, there is interpersonal, and there is a naturalistic. So that's how he looks at as a complete, so we can the holistic view of intelligence. That's why he comes at the multiple intelligence. Now, if you look at all the 8 categories that he comes up with, the first one is a visual. So some people, sometimes we see that students have a visual spatial ability. They can sometimes when you learn, sometimes when you draw, when you doodle, when you make a picture while learning, it helps you. Or when you, it's a sometimes the drawing, you are more. The second one is a linguistic verbal. Some people are having more into the numerical, they are more into the numbers or the linguistic or verbal ability, they are more good at. Then we see sometimes some people are good at interpersonal. Like, for example, I'm a counselor, I'm a psychologist. For me, one of my biggest strength is the interpersonal skills. Because for me as a counselor, I identified my unique strength, and that works for me to connect with anybody on any level. And then there's the interpersonal is within yourself. Some people are not good at connecting with other people, but they're very good at getting the work on their own, you know. And then the logical and mathematical, some people are very good at the research, scientific and the medical part of it. There's a musical, and there's the people who are more in the bodily kinesthetic, more of the in the dance or in the movements they're very good at, you know. And then some people are naturalistic. Now see how there are a lot of people who have love and particular soft corner for the nature, you know, where they come up with on something, a lot of research on the natures. So we can say gone are those days where we were evaluating the student just based on the academics. But if we really need to understand the intelligence of the student, we need to look at from the entire, according to Gardner, we have to look at from the 8 different perspective, which the component is very dominating in the child. And based on that, if given the exposure, you know, the child could become an excel in that particular field. All right. Now, the next is the J.P. Guilford theory of intelligence. So according to J.P. Guilford, he came up with a 3-dimensional theory. So what is 3D? He came up with the structure of intelligence. He came up with a cube model. He came up with a cube model of structure of intelligence. So 3 separate factors make any individual activity. So first is the operations, second one is the content, and third one is the products. So he has a so let's understand in the structure. So this is the SOI model. SOI model is the structure of intelligence model. According to structure of intelligence model, each cube represents an intersection of operations, products, contents, create 150 components of intelligence. So it tells that there are 150 components of intelligence, and he further categorizes into 3 major sections. The first one, he talks about, as he said, as a we can say he talks about the operations. First come the cognitions. First it any idea takes place in your mind, in your cognition, then in your memory. Then there's the diverse projects, you know, the divert production means that you come up with the multiple ideas, you know. And then there's a convergent production. Out of many ideas, you shortlist or do take the salient idea, and then you do the evaluation on it. And after that, you move to the content part of it. You give the visual form to it, and then you give the auditory form to it, then you give the behavior, then you give the semantic form, and finally comes out as a symbol. Like for example, I want to come up with a logo, you know. First I will have some visuals in my, first I'll come up with the idea, many ideas, I'll shortlist, then I have visual, so finally I have come up with a symbolic idea. Now again the symbolic thing turns out to a third, it goes into third process, third stage, that's the production. In the products, in the products comes the units. First you apply the same idea to a particular unit. For example, before you apply the entire school, you will do it with a few school students as a one unit, and then you do in the multiple, then you move to the classes, and then you keep on building the relations among that, and then the entire system is created. Then there's the transformation is happening, you see the change because of the implication, and finally there is the implication is happening. So this is how the learning takes place according to
Guilford.
Guilford. I start with the operations, content, and then the products. You know, that's how it takes place. Then there are different measures of intelligence according to your syllabus. This is the next point in your syllabus, measures of intelligence. So there are different measures. There are verbal measures, there are non-verbal measures, there are performance, you know. So basically the full scale of IQ is categorized into 2 different categories. One is a verbal IQ, second is a performance IQ. Verbal IQ is further divided into a verbal comprehension and a working memory. Your verbal, which we talk about in the verbal ability. Second is the performance, you know, based on your performance, you know. Sometimes it's based on your perceptual organization, context, processing speed. So the verbal is done, checked more when you're working on the verbal and the linguistic part of it. This performance is checked. Here it's checked in your more of the problem solving, the other behavior, which is more based on the performance part of it, no. So here in the verbal you check vocabulary, similarities, information, and the comprehension. And the working memory, check the digital span, letter number, sequency, arithmetic. And the perceptual organization, you focus on the picture completion, block design, metric reasoning. And in the processing speed, you check the digital symbolizing. So these are different tests which are categorized to measure intelligence, on the, or based on the different components, based on verbal, working memory, perceptual, and processing speed. Now let's look at this major two section, verbal and performance tests. So what are these verbal and performance tests? So verbal tests, basically the capacity to use language in order to express yourself, comprehend stories, and understand people. So verbal IQ is more mainly to do with the language, which are more of the language based, to express yourself. The performance test is basically, it's a score resulting from the assess the child's mental capability in dealing with the non-verbal skills, which is not based on the language. Because sometimes when we do an IQ testing with children who are below 5-year-old, or whose their language is not developed, with them we use cubes, we use a lot of other things, to check their intelligence. We use certain pictures, where the language is not used, though those are more of the performance based IQ testing. Now, this is a classification given. This is a scale of like IQ testing. Like, for example, if the child is having below 52, he falls into the definite feeble-mindedness. If the child is having a IQ range from 52 to 68, he falls in the borderline deficiency. If the child is having an IQ between the range of 68 to 84, he falls into dullness. And 84 to 113, normal and average intelligence. 113 to 132, above average. 132 to 148, superior intelligence. 148 to 164, superior, very superior. And 164 and over comes a genius. So these are the different categories, where the classification is done based on that, and how the range is looked at. Now we are moving on to the another components which given in your syllabus on the topic, that's a social and emotional intelligence. So as I told, there's an IQ, that's an emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. Along with the IQ, there is a SQ and EQ. SQ is a social quotient or social intelligence. EQ is the emotional intelligence. So what is social intelligence? Refers to ability to understand and navigate social situations. And emotional intelligence involves the processing of managing emotions, components of those social situations, including one's own emotions. And now if you look at, sometimes people have very high IQ, they are very superior, but they sometimes we see, people are very successful in their career. They have very good IQ, they are working in the top of the company lines, they are having the best of their positions in the company, they are on the peak of the career, but you suddenly realize the person has committed suicide. Why? Because he was lacking the emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is more to do with your, how good you are to manage your emotions, both positive and negative emotions. And social intelligence more to how well are you able to connect or what are your interpersonal skills that you have. So IQ is good, but along with IQ, a teacher should also develop a social intelligence and emotional intelligence, which is very much, they all go hand in hand. You cannot say I have a good IQ, I'm very good at my subject. Being good at subject does not mean that you will be an effective teacher. No, you need to develop your IQ, or your emotional quotient and your social intelligence, to be effective in your class. Now we are just going to look at some of the implications of this social and emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is one thing. You become aware about yourself, and then this is self-management. You are learn to manage your things more effectively. There's a motivation, there's internal motivation that you get to do things. There's empathy. What is an empathy? You start understanding other people from their perspective, not from yours. And the social skills, you also develop interpersonal skills, basically how to interact with other people. So these are some of the educational or the implications, or on the of this topic. So with this topic we are done with this topic as well.